Before we can get to building a Rails application, I have to teach you how to use the command line. And why should become obvious shortly. So we have this command line set up. On a Mac, remember it's the terminal. On a PC, it's git bash. I'm going to change the way that this looks a little bit just to make it easier for you guys to read. If you're on a PC, you shouldn't have to do too much customization. On a Mac, you can follow along with me, or you can set it up however you want. Go to your preferences, and if you go to profiles, you can see there's a few different options. And I like Homebrew generally. You can double click this and it'll open up a new window with that. But I'm going to do some customizations first. I'm going to first set this as my default. And I'm going to change my text so that it's white. And my bold text I want to be white as well. And we'll make the cursor white too, just easier to read on the whole instead of that ugly green. The second thing I'm doing is I'm going to change my font to Menlo, M-E-N-L-O. I find it a little smoother, and I'm going to make the font size 18, just so that you don't have to squint all tiny just to see what I'm typing. So you can close out of that and set that as the default if you haven't already. And now, whenever you open up a new terminal window, you can go to Shell, New Window. You should see the same default. I'm going to just leave this for right now. So the terminal, what is going on here? It looks probably really confusing, kind of crazy, kind of scary. So let's first dissect what's happening. Well, on the first line, it's actually just telling you when you last logged in, like when you last opened up the terminal. I never really know, and I mostly just ignore this line, so it's fair for you to just ignore as well. Then here you have this blinking, this is called the cursor. This is where if you start typing stuff, that's where it actually shows up. It's the same as the cursor that you are familiar with, like the mouse, when you drag over or you're typing in Microsoft Word. This first part here is actually the name of the computer that you're currently on. So you should see something different. Then you have a colon, and you have this little squiggly. It's actually called a tilde. And I'll tell you what that means in a second. Basically, it's a little of a shortcut and a hint that tells you where you are. I know, you are actually somewhere when you're looking at this, and that's the next thing I'll talk about. Except that this right here should be your username. And then you have this $, and this is called the prompt. This basically just tells you that to the right of that, that's where you start typing. So if you ever see instructions online that say type this in, and there's a little $, and then some text, what that basically means is that it wants you to type in whatever it's telling you after the $, here. And you shouldn't copy the $, and paste it in with everything else. Otherwise, you'll have two $, and that won't actually work. Okay, so the first command I want to teach you, and I'm only going to teach you a handful of commands. I'm going to teach you, I think, 4, so hold me to that. The first one is pwd, and when I say command, what I really mean is just type in what I'm saying and then hit enter. So go for it, and when you're ready, hit enter. So I hit enter, and what I'm getting is it says /users/Matan Graphel, and then I have the prompt, which has come back to me. And now I could type in more stuff here. I could actually type the same command in again, and I'm going to get the same result. By the way, you can hit the up arrow, and it actually will show you, it'll pop up the last thing that you typed, and you can go all the way through if you type more than one thing, and you can hit down as well. So what is this doing? Well, it literally is showing you where you are on your computer. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, here's the next command that should make it a little clearer. If you're on a Mac, type open space dot. If you're on a PC, it should be start space dot. So on a PC, it's S-T-A-R-T space dot. So on a Mac, if you type this and hit enter, what you should see is you should have this Finder window open up and actually show you something. Now this, it might surprise you to learn, is where we are right now. This /users/Matan Graphel, that is the folder that we're currently in. It's actually 2 folders. If I change the view a little bit, I'll see okay, here's my Matan Graphel folder, and it's in another folder called users, which is in the Macintosh hard drive. That's kind of the highest up that you can go. That's the hard drive on my computer. This doesn't show you the hard drive here. It's kind of assumed everything is on the hard drive, but inside of users and Matan Graphel, that's where I currently am. And that's important because you can move around in the command line using another command, which I'm going to show you in a second. So what else can I do here? Well, I can type ls and then hit enter. And what this is going to show me is all of the things inside of the folder that I'm currently in. So you actually will see, here I see applications, downloads, Creative Cloud files, movies, music, pictures, etc. It's the exact same set of folders that I see right here in the Finder. Okay, is this starting to get clearer? This is kind of a one-to-one mapping here. Now, why would anyone actually use this text version instead of doing it here, right? Isn't this a lot more obvious and clearer? Well, you can do stuff in the text in the command line that you can't do as easily in the Finder. One example of this, there's a variation of this ls command. It's kind of a modification that we can make to it. So you can type ls space -a, just like that, with a space. And if you do this, it's going to show you not just the same folders it did before, but it shows you a bunch of other ones here, and they have dots in front of them. Now, what the dots are basically hidden folders and files on your computer. They're in here, you just can't see them because they're hidden from you. But in the terminal, this ls command, which stands for list, by the way, you can pass in a as an argument. Arguments are basically options that you can pass forward into your commands to change the way that they work a little bit so that they show either hidden folders or other things. There's other arguments out there, and there's a lot of commands, honestly, but you don't need to know all of them for this class. I'm just showing you the important ones, and they're all below this video too, in case you need a cheat sheet. So we had print working directory, pwd. We had open dot or start dot. You have ls, which stands for lists. And then we have the last one that I'm going to teach you, which is cd, which stands for change directory. And then you put a space and you put the name of the folder that you want to move into. Directories and folders are the same thing, so I think of them as folders, and it's just clear that way. Now you can only move into a folder that's in the folder you're currently in. So I can't just move into any folder. I first have to list out what are the folders here, and then I could cd and then put the name of the folder. So for example, if I want to move into my documents folder, I can do cd space documents and then hit enter. Now you may not have a documents folder available here if you're on a Windows, for example, so you'll have to cd into a folder that exists for you. You know, type ls and then you can actually look it up. I have my documents, and now I'm in my documents folder, and in fact this little squiggly line updated to documents. It should update to whatever you're currently in. And now if I do pwd, now I'm in my documents folder. Now I could see what's inside of here. In my case, I did ls, and now I see two different files. These are actually files inside of my documents folder. So I could go into Adobe, for example, and I could cd Adobe, and now I'm inside of that one. I can ls and see what's inside of there. Now I can't go back to documents just by doing cd documents. That would be too easy. It's telling me no such file or directory because I'm in the Adobe folder and there's no file or directory named Adobe here. But if I want to go back, I can do this. cd space ... And ... here stands for back a level. So I can go cd ... Now I'm back in my documents. cd ... again. I'm back where I started. And this final thing is, this is called your root folder. This is your home. This is where you start out. If you ever open up a new tab, you're going to end up here by default. You can always go back here by doing cd space ... which is up above the tab. that brings you back here, or you can even just type CD and that should bring you back there. So if I go way in, I get lost, say I'm in my desktop, I forget how to go back, just CD, you're back to where you started. So that's it for what I want to teach you about the command line. I think that you should go explore it, and if it's still really confusing to you, there's actually a resource that I would recommend checking out, which is in this guide called Learn Ruby the Hard Way by Zed Shaw. There's an appendix it calls the Command Line Crash Course. And if you still want to learn more about this or make it a little clearer for yourself, then go through, and I recommend doing exercises 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which cover PWD, CD, ls. It shows you how to make a directory too, which I didn't show you how to do, but we'll do in a second. And you can go all the way through, and in fact, if you're on a Windows, you don't need to follow the Windows instructions. You can follow along with the Linux/OS instructions because you have git bash, so it's actually will work the exact same way. So check those out, or if you're feeling kind of adventurous and you want to just go for it, then follow along to the next lesson, and this stuff should become more and more familiar to you as you go on.